people who are responsible for emergency lighting need to carry out a risk assessment under the regulatory reform fire safety order requirements. They need to risk assess the emergency lighting as part of that fire risk assessment, and they need to ensure that the emergency lighting itself is compliant with the appropriate standards. They need also to make sure that they have product which is fit for purpose, compliant again with standards, and they need to test and maintain the system again in accordance with the standards as frequently as required, making sure that they at all times have a functional system. The worst possible punishment of the current laws would be imprisonment for a period, but of course some substantial fines as well.
When we're going into sites, we're finding that what's there already is possibly not compliant, and there's problems with it. So it's not just a matter of doing sort of point-for-point replacements. We're having to correct for mistakes that have been made in the past.
You talk to somebody and you tell them, do a fire risk assessment. You're now the responsible person. And the whole plethora of British standards, European norms, all sorts of directives, all sorts of building regulations, it just frightens the life out of them.
One of the biggest challenges we have is actually carrying out the tests to comply with the BS standard in a manner not to be too disruptive, and also access as well to certain areas where certain areas are restricted.
The regulations are quite robust and very, very fair, but again, it's having an understanding of how they operate.
When you're asking a responsible person under the reform order to go away and read a volume of lighting BS and BSENs, I think you're asking for somebody who may not have the capability of interpreting them correctly, henceforth leading to risk of not complying in the workplace.
There is an easy way to improve everybody's knowledge of what is required by publicly crucifying the people that get caught breaking the rules.
Because we have such a vast quantity of buildings, we have different campuses, we have limited resources with staff, so the ability for them to self-test and report back to us when they carried out their tests and any faults makes our life a lot easier.
I think with automatic testing, it's just assumed that one product will just fit all, and that's not always the case. So they have to be tailored. Communicating products have to be set up correctly on networks, and it's becoming more of an IT issue.
There's various systems out there in the market, and all of them have different features, but they will all actually test the emergency lighting to the current standards and actually log that information and keep that test information available for a 5-year period.
Once you start adding a dynamic contribution to the lighting, you could get it wrong. You could direct somebody in the wrong direction. And then there's litigation to concern yourselves about. So at the moment, it's something that we're watching. It's certainly, from an engineering standpoint, very easy to do, but we must make sure that it's completely fail-safe.
The designers need to be a little bit more conservative rather than grabbing onto the latest technology there, because the standards may not be in place to actually ratify that product's use. Making sure the product is absolutely compliant with those standards is a challenge for all designers now.